Day 4, the evening at Onigiri Guest House in Kyoto, where I'm eating some of my Korean seaweed snacks. Very tasty, and they make a great special effect. I'm usually all for no filter, but I'm definitely making an exception with this thing. I had a very slow, nice morning today in the pod hotel. I figured out how to tie the robe that I couldn't tie at the sand bath in Beppu. That was really cool to know how to do it. It was very quiet in Osaka in the morning. I think I was in the America village, like a party district, foreigner kind of hipster place, so naturally it was slow on Saturday morning. I did some editing from a cafe in the subway station where I found a nice spot to sit and hang out. There was also a cool cat statue outside that looked kind of funny. Once I had waited long enough, I went over to a vegan place and had a really good lunch. I was at something called the Aina Cafe in Osaka, had vegan gyoza, and also got a cup of green tea. I got to practice some Japanese because it was only me there. I was maybe one of the few customers that day, so that the woman who was working there, who took care of the whole place, she was really happy to have me there and just try to chat with me as much as we could between some English and some Japanese. Around where I've been, there isn't a lot of green space, but here is some, and also something that is the first for this trip here in Osaka, skateboarders who are hanging out over there. I noticed that there's a lot of money going around in Osaka, and read that this Kishanshin area, which is Osaka, Kyoto and Kobe together, and some other cities around, it's actually, if you kind of add their economical productivity together, it's something like the 16th largest economy of the world. So that's quite a thing for being like Japan's even second city cluster, not even the biggest one. One way that it shows is with all the cars that are going around, some pretty swanky ones. A type of car that I find interesting, and I'm a bit of a car, recovering car nerd. I think the design is quite interesting sometimes. Anyhow, these spaceship minivans are a thing. I saw one, of course, I see them all the time, but there was one in particular at a crossing that I managed to catch in Osaka, and now later tonight I've seen one here in Kyoto as well that was lowered and modified. It's funny that people do modifications to pretty mundane cars and they still turn out quite cool. Another very typical everyday car here in Japan is the kei car. It's a special type of Japanese compact car that has certain regulations on the engine size and the physical size of the car. And a lot of companies try to do the coolest car possible within these limitations. And one that's going really well right now, as I've noticed here, is something called the Suzuki Hustler, which is like a mini SUV. It looks pretty cool. City buses kind of have the same idea that you get as much vehicle as possible into the dimensions that you have, so they come out pretty boxy and tall as well. That was pretty much it for Osaka. I checked on Foursquare, my favorite app for finding things to do when I'm traveling, and realized that next to the train station where I was going to get train to Kyoto, there is also a juice bar that is like legendary somehow, so I decided to go and check that one out. Game on to find Osaka's best juice bar hidden here somewhere in Hanshin railway station. I think I'm getting pretty close. Found it. It's not very well advertised. That's the sign you'll be looking for. Alternatively, you can look for the flock of people with juice cups. I got my juice, so let's see now what all this fuss is about. Great. That's like banana melon kind of taste. Very fresh, very sweet. They also have their brand own specific trash can. At Osaka Station, I discovered a very smart system for waiting for the train and knowing where to line up when you're supposed to board the train. The departure board has a thing for each platform. It shows which side to go to, and then it shows circle or triangle, and it shows the number of the circle and triangle. Then you have these again repeating on the ground on each side of the platform, so you know if your train is coming in at triangle, then you know which kind of number of triangles you can go to. Very handy. I don't have to guess where the doors are going to be, and people can already start forming lines as the train is approaching. When I got to Kyoto, I walked to the guest house where I'm staying. It's a pretty short walk, like 15 minutes, and a very quiet neighborhood. nice to see this kind of Japanese city life also, with small back alleys, some shrines between the houses, and these statues people keep outside. There was one in particular that looked like quite interesting. Couldn't quite make out what it was. Maybe some form of beaver? No, something else, but very pointed teeth and kind of funny looking. My big thing for the evening was this Fushimi Inari shrine, which is also quite close to here. Once I figured that out, that was a big thing to do and that it could look nice in sunset and so on, I made my way over there quickly. Saw another very interesting car on the way, this tow truck that can lift itself. I also passed by a little river. Right before I got to the temple, there was a building that was not old or historical, but still caught my eye. Very interesting concrete architecture, which I like, and very geometrical. I wonder what's inside. I don't think I can figure it out right now, but maybe one day. I got into the shrine area. It was already a bit late, sun had set, but there was still some daylight, so I didn't spend too much time at the bottom. At the main shrine, checked it out a little bit. I started climbing the hill, and I didn't know at that time that all the way to the top and the back, if you go this traditional ritual meditative route, it's something like 3 hours. I did it, and I probably did it a bit faster, but then I also stopped to film a lot, so I don't know, spent a lot of time, but it was fun. It was very dark, of course. I also made my own little ritual. I saw a lot of the torii gates, of course, which are the whole thing about the place, that you go through those and they have inscriptions and so on. I also saw a lot of foxes, because the fox is the messenger of the god Inari. Foxes all over. A very nice fox in the form of a fountain, for example, or rather a fountain in the form of a fox. There was also a very nice view over Kyoto at night, up from the hill. The hill is also called Inari, actually. Here is some more shrine footage. At night, I had ramen at a small place. It's supposedly one of the top spots in the city, but nowhere close to its neighbor anyways, which had a long line of maybe 20 people waiting outside. I got hustled into the other one, which was good, but I certainly think that my vegetarian ramen had some animal in the broth at some point. My stomach tells me that there was something not fishy but meaty going on with that one. I passed through the Kyoto main station on my way home, and there I got a travel card, contactless payment for public transport like subways and local trains, and then I also got some baked goods for breakfast tomorrow. That's it for my slow day.